DoctorAche reviews Venom. Short review. Decent movie with okay special effects and great acting by most, especially Tom Holland. The motivations of the symbiotes are one-dimensional, and the bad guy also seems a bit hollow. Some stuff makes you tilt your head in questioning of logic or reasoning for character decisions, but overall, the movie is enjoyable, and watching Venom is fun. Writing, 6. Good writing, but it wasn't totally original. Motivations are one note and without logic most times. Some really great scenes throughout the movie, such as the dinner scene with the lobsters. I thought that was funny and really, really good acting. Great acting, fun to watch. For the most part, the writing was good, but the villains and the symbiotes is what hurt it. Also, Eddie didn't really need to have a girlfriend love interest in this movie. In my opinion, it would have been better if she hadn't been in it. Now, I love the actress. She was really great in The Greatest Showman, but this movie, you really didn't need her, and Tom Holland and her don't really have that on-screen chemistry, so it wasn't really necessary. I think it would have been better without her. Beginning, 6 out of 10. It opens with a spacecraft crashing upon re-entry, and the Life Company recovers the symbiotes, but one of the 4 is missing. We then cut to Eddie, and the movie does a really great job of show don't tell, with telling us about his relationship and his job and her job and everything like that. Pretty good writing, directing, and acting. But once Eddie and his girlfriend split, the movie takes a little too long to get venoming, in between. Ending, 5 out of 10. It's predictable and unoriginal, but it doesn't really offend you, if that makes sense. The bad guy company owner, Drake, gets the symbiote, the one that went missing at the beginning. It attaches to him and he becomes Riot. And that's totally predictable, and, his goal is to get on Drake's rocket, go back up to the rest of the symbiotes, bring them back to Earth, the millions of them, and kill everybody, basically. Take over the world. And for some reason that they give a half-assed explanation for, Venom doesn't want to do this anymore, so he decides he wants to fight Riot, even though he literally says the odds of them succeeding is little to none. And it's the classic trope of hero has to fight a bigger, stronger, more advanced version of themselves. It's pretty much in every single MCU movie, and I know this isn't an MCU movie, but I'm just saying it's been tried and done. The fight is good, but it's dark, so you can't really always see what's going on or understand what's going on. It's fun, to watch, though, but at one point, Drake and Eddie get separated from their symbiotes, and they're on this roof raft thing, and Eddie kicks Drake off, and he fake out dies, but it's really, you could see it coming a mile away that he's not really dead. Eddie gets up and turns around, and then he gets stabbed through the chest, and he fake out dies. And then Venom comes and heals him. And then they get on the rocket, and they start flying away, and there's the predictable Riot gets killed in the fire. Which, I have a nitpick about that I'll get to in the pros and cons section. Characters, 7 out of 10. Eddie, love interest, doctor boyfriend, and scientist lady are all good characters with real motivations and, all that jazz. But the villain and a couple other side characters, just not so good. The villain wasn't horrible. Don't get me wrong, but he just wasn't that good. Good actor, and his lines are good. There's one scene in particular where he has that homeless guy, and he's gonna have the symbiote attached to him in his human trials. His name is Isaac, and he has that speech about the Bible, and it was a pretty good, pretty well executed scene and all that. So it's definitely not the actor's fault. It's just the writing wasn't so great for, they didn't make the villain that good. But I did like that they didn't go the cliche route of making the love interest new boyfriend the doctor dude. They didn't make him to be a jerk. They let him be a genuinely nice guy who's just trying to help. Because it would have been too easy for them to just make him a jerk, and then you're rooting for them to get back together. Well, no, he's actually a nice guy. I like that they didn't go the easy cliche route with that. Performances, 8 out of 10. Tom Hardy was so good in this movie. Really, really good. He did the same sort of thing that he did in Upgrade, where, he's just reacting to shit happening to him. But, it just really good actor. Everyone else was pretty good, but Tom Hardy killed it. He stole the show. Timing, 6 out of 10. Pacing was pretty good throughout. Sound, 6 out of 10. Everything worked. All the sound effects were, they did their job. Score, 6 out of 10. Same thing. Did its job. It was good. Did what it needed to. Nothing bad to say. Visuals, 5. It was good for the most part, but like I said before, the Venom effects were just a little too glossy. And I don't mean that it was too pretty. What I mean is it literally glossed, light reflected off of it. And I didn't really like that. It just didn't totally work for me. Also, I did like the blue fire kamikaze drones. I don't like that the drones were kamikazeing, but I like the fire and that thing. Most of the effects were good, but I wish this movie, its overall color palette wasn't so, dark, gray, blue, that sort of thing. Believability, 5 out of 10. The acting was what made it believable, and good enough writing made it believable. Relatability, 5 out of 10. You can relate to making one colossal mistake and messing up your career or your relationship, and to that effect, just wishing you could take it back. So you can relate to that. And having these voices inside telling you, to do these things, but, and you have to, fight against them and do what's right. Editing, 5 out of 10. No junky cuts. There were a couple scenes where there was shaky cam, but they were short, and there was only, a couple of them, so I'm not gonna, Antagonist, 4 out of 10. Worst part of this movie was just how underdeveloped he was. He was willing to kill with no remorse for no reason. His motivation was basically that he was trying to save humanity. He saw himself sort of as a god figure, and he wanted to save humanity, and he thought that humans combining with symbiotes was the way to go. And so then they could survive in space, yada, yada, yada. Yet, he wants to save humanity is his motivation, yet he doesn't care to just kill dozens of people. I don't know. He's not that deep either. Just not a great villain. Twist, void. There wasn't one. Cry, void. Did not make me cry. Wasn't really an emotional movie. Production value, 7 out of 10. Some of the special effects weren't great, like I said, but they don't mess with the production value. it did not feel like a cheap movie. It felt like a pretty, good movie. Actors and everything I've already said. Overall enjoyability, 6 out of 10. The movie is fun, I guess, It's not going to blow your hair back or anything, but there are definitely worse things to be watching. This is a good movie if you want to watch something that you can just kind of relax and watch without having any real investment, if that makes sense. Rewatchability / recommendability, 7 out of 10. I can see myself watching this movie again, and I also would recommend it to other people. If you're planning on seeing it in the theater, go ahead. But if you're on the fence about it, you can wait. Wait for it to come out. Save yourself some money. If you're a super huge Venom fan, like you've read all the comics and stuff, you're probably not going to love this movie, but you'll like certain aspects of it. Pros and cons time. Pros. Did some really good things with Show Don't Tell. After Venom attaches itself to Eddie, and, Eddie is sick and he drinks the water and he's eating the tater tots and he's, eating the raw chicken and all that, or the rotten chicken, I should say. I really like how it's shot and how he reacts, and very good acting. And this is going to sound gross, but the throw up is very realistic. It looked real. Pretty good. I'm not going to say I liked that, but it's a pro. And the first time Venom talks, Eddie yips like a little girl, and it is hysterical and so realistic, and I loved it. I already talked about the lobster scene during the dinner. I liked that. That was funny and very good acting, like I said. Venoming is pretty cool. Just wish it wasn't so dark when it was happening. Wilhelm scream. There's a Wilhelm scream in this movie. I liked that. And I like that after Venom gets detached from Eddie in the hospital, he attaches himself to a dog. And, it's pretty inconspicuous. Nobody's going to really pay attention to a little dog running around in the hospital if it's quiet. Female Venom is a pro. Stanley cameo. I liked that. And during the credits, it's like ink dot credits. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now for cons. Cons, there's some found footage / shaky cam, stuff going on a couple times I didn't really care for. They killed off Jameson in, the beginning of this movie, and it's just kind of offhand. In the very beginning, when the spaceship, crash lands, they say, oh no, everyone's dead, and there's one symbiote missing. Oh wait, but Jameson, he's still alive. Let's get him, and they put him in the ambulance, and they're driving away, and Riot is in Jameson. Now, for those of you who don't know, Jameson, this is J. Jonah Jameson's son. His son was an astronaut, if you didn't know. And so this is J. Jonah Jameson's son. And they just killed him off. All they did was kind of give him a offhand. It sucks. Another con is, why would Drake, the owner of the company, be the one giving these children, these students, the tour of his facility? You have people for that, dude. And after they discover that the 4th specimen, Riot, is missing, no one really questions, what happened to it, where it went after that. Even after they start discovering that it requires a living host and all this other stuff, they just, ignore the fact that they had 4 and 1 went missing. And, nobody had any questions about the ambulance that got taken down or anything like that. I don't know. And then Drake just kind of pushes forward with the human trials for no real reason. Like, he sees the whole thing with the rodents, and he's like, okay, let's human trials start right away. It just, why? What's the rush? I don't know. It just seems like they're trying to hurry up, you know, for the sake of the movie, not for realism. Another thing is Eddie, after Eddie, when he's in the bar and he's drinking after he got broken up with his love interest, a dude recognizes him because of his news show, and he says, "Yo, are you Eddie Brock?" And he does the tried and done line of, "I used to be." Come on. And then at one point in the movie, a little while after that, he's walking down the street and he goes to grab a free newspaper, and a little homeless lady sitting right down there had taken all the newspapers and put them next to her and was charging $5 for a newspaper. And Eddie gives her 20. Like, dude, you don't have a job. You're living in a rundown apartment. You are eating tater tots for dinner. Like, why are you just handing out 20s for free? Like, yeah, he's a nice guy and he's trying to help out this lady, but come on, dude, that's okay. Another thing is the Chinese lady in the convenience store is super relaxed about being held at gunpoint. Like, she's so calm about it. I mean, she must be really taking those meditation lessons seriously, you know, if you ask me. Why is it that the fourth symbiote is just killing everyone? Riot? Like, he walks up when he's that lady, the ambulance lady. He just walks up to that little town, bites the head off of an eel. People start giving him crap. So he just kills everybody. Like, what would be the purpose of this? Like, it's not even like he's going out and, like, absorbing them, eating them or anything. Like, he's just straight up just, like, slicing and dicing. It just doesn't really make sense. Eddie, when he gets into the Drake's facility and he sees that his homeless friend is in there and she's begging to get out, he is able to break that glass way too easily. Like, that shouldn't, like, this isn't a fault on him or anything like that. Like, Drake should have had better glass than that. Like, the symbiote, when we see Venom, it's super strong with Eddie Brock. Like, if there was a successful, you know, host, I guess, it would be strong enough to break through that glass and escape. Why would the glass be just this little, like, 1/16 of an inch little glass that you can break with a chair? I don't know. The MRI effects are a little Like, Eddie has Venom in him and he's all sick, so he goes to his girlfriend in the lobster scene, or his ex-girlfriend, and the doctor takes him to the hospital and does an MRI. And obviously Venom doesn't like the sound waves, so he, you know, freaks out. And the effects just, they're not that great. They're a little stupid looking. And the security guard that was there when, you know, the symbiote broke out, when Venom broke out, gets fired. Drake fires him. Yet, he shows up later in the movie, like, not fired. I don't know. And also, are there no cameras in that part of the facility, or motion sensors, or any sort of security precautions other than a night security guard? Like, I find that very, very hard to believe. Also, Eddie's loud neighbor, the dude who's playing the guitar, thumbs down on him, man. Another thing is it's predictable that the scientist lady would be symbioted, for lack of a better word, after she gave Drake the information that he wanted. Like, how did she not see that coming? Like, she's literally in the room with a symbiote. I don't know. Another thing is, why would the drones that are chasing Eddie kamikaze? Like, why would that be a thing? Like, he's trying to reclaim the symbiote, not cause the entire city to be paying attention to it. I don't know. Also, when Eddie's being chased, Venom literally like makes him let go of the bike while they're like in the air. Yet, for some reason, he grabs onto the bike again. Like, what was the point of letting go of the bike to begin with? It just doesn't make sense. I thought maybe he let go of the bike and Venom was just going to start like swinging through the city like Spider-Man style, but that's not what happened, so it just doesn't make sense. Also, there's like an infinite number of bad guys chasing him when he's on that motorcycle. Like, he just keeps giving a bunch of them the slip and just more show up. It's it's pretty funny. And also, there's a couple times Venom actually asks Eddie a few questions, like about what Eddie's thinking. Why would he ask any questions? He's in Eddie's head. He knows everything Eddie knows. It just, I don't know. And why would Riot spend his time at the end fighting Venom instead of just getting on the rocket and just going? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. And also, the movie, earlier, you know, in like the middle of the movie, they establish that a airplane is too loud and Eddie almost dies because Venom like freaks out. Yet they're able to fight and live and, you know, do whatever on a rocket, which is just as loud, if not louder. And then also, I wish that they didn't just flat out tell us about Carnage. Like, they could have left something to the imagination, something to make our own conclusions. Alright, final thoughts. Overall, the movie was enjoyable and written well enough and with great performances. Some things I wish they did differently, but that's just my opinion, and that doesn't mean I'm right. If you don't know a great deal about the Venom comics and like his history, then you'd probably like this movie a little bit more if you just knew like the bare minimum. Just because if you know a lot about Venom and you love Venom because he's probably the fan favorite, then you're gonna be, you know, have a huge expectation. You're gonna want to see all the amazing things you've already read. But, you know, you gotta lower the bar a little bit. You gotta not expect so much. This is Sony we're talking about. They gave us Amazing Spider-Man 2 after all. And I'm not saying that you should expect, you know, nothing out of them. I'm just saying that everybody has their expectations super, super high. And we need to just the studio needs to just let the directors and the writers and everyone do what they want to do without infringing on the movie making process, because that's what's hurting it, not the actual writers, directors. So Venom could have been better than what we got, but that's not really on the actors or the writers. Overall, I give it a 6 out of 10. This concludes my review of Venom. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any suggestions for future reviews, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and I hope you tune in to the next one. Bye.